Let's try a thought experiment. What if you woke up tomorrow and the internet was just gone? I don't mean your Wi-Fi's on the fritz. I mean the entire global network for a full week. It's not just some big inconvenience, it's a shutdown of the modern world as we know it. And, that digital foundation we've built everything on, it's way more fragile than you might think. Okay, so let's really put ourselves there. You reach for your phone first thing, but there are no messages, no news feeds, no maps. Your laptop is basically a paperweight. No email, no banking, no work, just nothing. There's this total digital silence, and it's absolutely everywhere. And that first feeling? It probably isn't panic. It's this deep, weird confusion. What do you even do when that invisible layer of reality you totally depend on just vanishes? So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at some small-scale blackouts that have already given us a preview. Then, we'll dive right into a day-by-day timeline of how everything unravels. And finally, we'll get to the most important part, what this all teaches us about building a more resilient world. Now, to be clear, a total global internet outage has never actually happened. But we've seen enough little glimpses, enough small-scale versions, to have a pretty good idea of what that opening chapter would look like. I mean, we've seen governments shut down their country's internet on purpose. We've seen massive, and I mean massive, underwater cables get cut by accident, knocking whole regions offline. And come on, we've all had our local internet provider just fail for a day. Each of these is like a tiny tremor. Now, just imagine the big one. All of them, all at once, everywhere. All right, let's start the clock. The first 48 hours. This is when we see things slide from a personal headache into a full-blown systemic failure. And it happens fast. In the first few hours, it's just denial, right? Everybody's just restarting their router, thinking it's their problem. But by hour 8, the truth starts to sink in. You go to an ATM. It's dark. Your credit cards are useless pieces of plastic. All of a sudden, cash is king. Within 24 hours, a total information vacuum opens up. With no news sites, rumors start spreading by word of mouth, and you can imagine how that goes. By day 2, you're in this bizarre, forced digital detox, and it's a strange mix of rising panic and this really unsettling, quiet calm. So by the middle of the week, the problem isn't just digital anymore. Not at all. The shock to the system becomes intensely physical. Here's the thing that most of us never even think about. Our physical world runs on a digital nervous system. All those automated warehouses that pack and ship our stuff, they just go blind. The giant port systems that unload container ships, they're offline. Trucking companies can't dispatch their drivers, and what's the result? The entire flow of goods just stops. And within a few days, you'd see it with your own eyes when the shelves at the supermarket start to go bare. And you'd start to feel time itself just warp. A task that took you, 5 seconds online, like paying a bill or checking a map, now takes hours of frustrating manual effort, if it's even possible at all. Your whole life would just become a series of analog hurdles, standing in lines, trying to find old paper phone books, writing everything down by hand. As we get closer to the end of the week, this really fascinating split starts to emerge. On one hand, society is under an incredible amount of stress. But at the same time, you start to see human adaptation and resilience really begin to shine through. And this is where you see two worlds collide. On one side, you have this massive systemic stress. Power and water are being rationed because the grids are hard to manage. Hospitals are struggling without access to digital records. The economy is basically frozen. But on the other side, something amazing happens. Human resilience kicks in. Local communities start to organize. Neighbors start sharing what they have. And all of a sudden, old-school analog skills, like gardening, basic repairs, even just knowing how to use a paper map, become incredibly valuable. And the reason that stress is just so high comes down to one thing, our critical infrastructure. We're talking about the power grids, the water systems, healthcare, all the things that are absolutely vital for a modern society. And guess what? They are all managed online. When the internet goes down, our ability to control these essential services becomes dangerously unstable. So, okay, after living through this chaotic, hypothetical week, what's the big takeaway? The real lesson here isn't about learning to live without the internet. It's about figuring out how to build a world that can actually withstand its absence, even for a little while. And look, the solution requires everybody to pitch in. Governments need to be running blackout drills and investing in backup communications, like good old-fashioned radio. Businesses need to start designing their services with a real offline mode. Tech builders, They've got to focus on creating decentralized systems that don't have one single point of failure. And what about us? For us, it's about strengthening our local community ties and learning some of those practical analog skills. This quote just perfectly captures the core problem, doesn't it? We've built this world that is so brilliantly efficient, so interconnected, but that very same thing that makes it so powerful also makes it dangerously fragile. It's a system that works perfectly, right up until the moment it completely and utterly breaks. So it all comes down to this question. Look, you and I don't control those massive fiber optic cables under the ocean, but we do control our own preparedness. We control our connections to the people right around us. So how reliant are you really on that single digital layer of reality? And how ready would you be if it just switched off?